Cowboy Jim, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. Nice day today up here in the north. Kind of the north. We're not really north, but we are a bit north. Well, I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you slept better than I did last night. I'm not sure if it was 2:29 or whatever time it was, but by the time I'd realized I couldn't sleep and lay there for half an hour thinking about not being able to sleep, that's not a good thing. And got up and made a couple of videos, and they weren't that bad given that I was pretty tired and I was pretty bored. Well, that happens when you live alone and you're Irish and or any other nationality, I suppose, but nonetheless. Anyways, so I woke up this morning, and let me tell you, to my shame, I slept in a little. Actually, I probably should have stayed awake. Would have been about the right time to get up in about half an hour because I don't think I'll lay back down until 4:30 in the morning. Oh my, that's not good. But in watching those videos that I did last night, I realized there's more than the inability to sleep that is not good. And I thought of that wonderful lady. She referred to herself over there in Kiev. I like to pronounce it Kiev. That's the way we grew up pronouncing it. Whether it's right or wrong, that's the way we Irish said that name, Kiev. Anyways, as I sat outside last night and realized that we were on the precipice of change. I don't think good change, but definitely change. And I came in from outside and I sat down at my laptop and I thought, well, I live by myself. I have kind of a cute little apartment here in Cornwall Drive in Fort McMurray. And I thought, I wonder how many people are going to bed in the Ukraine hungry. How many children are living through stuff that will leave them indelibly scarred for the rest of their lives? How many mothers would wish that their children wouldn't have to go through such horror of having their own country ravaged, bombed, under assault, under attack by their cousins from Russia. Oh, I've had the privilege and the honor of meeting with a lot of people over the years and just being myself and talking to them and answering questions. And invariably people will say, Jim, why are you the way I am? Or you are? And I say, well, how am I? Because you see, you and I, we have a perception of what we perhaps may well be. Further to that, we have a hope that we are better than we think we are. I think it was Moses, and well, I know it was Moses, who was referred to in the New Testament, having lived in the Old Testament times. And Moses was considered by God to be the most humble man alive who ever lived. And we all, in some innate sort of way in our hearts, want to at least appear to be humble. And it's not hard if you can be honest with yourselves. It's not hard to be humble if when you look in the mirror in the morning you say, oh, she's a bad hair day. By that, what I mean is when you look in the mirror and you're honest with yourself and you kind of step aside a little bit, you can still see in the mirror, and you look in the mirror and you see your right shoulder and you notice there's no one standing beside you, because there is no one beside you except the Creator in His Son, and those things that you have principled your life, that you've lived your life on, in, and through. So sitting at my laptop last night, 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking about how many mothers in the Ukraine were cuddling, holding their child who may well have been killed, bombed, torn asunder, and thinking of OLENA GNES. She referred to herself in one interview with Fox News as the Dragon Lady, the Dragon Mama, because she was there protecting her children. She said if her children weren't there, she would be out on the streets with her husband, with a gun, fighting for her country, her belief system, her family, extended family, mom, dad, sisters, brothers, that. And she would gladly give her life for the lives of those many people who, not the Soviet people, but the Russian soldiers, some of whom may, because armies are the same all over the world, may take a little too much joy in the adrenaline associated with fighting. But all that lady, all that mother wanted to take joy in was her family. And I wondered, I'm kind of warm here, and I have food, and I wondered, does OLENA GNES have food tonight? Does she have a good cup of Tim Hortons coffee? Well, they don't have Tim Hortons over there, but does she have the privilege? Because I haven't seen her on the news for a few days. Does she have the privilege and the honor of having her own children still breathing next to her? The youngest one was 5 months old. She has a breathing disorder. I'm the only one in my family that doesn't. All my sisters have asthma in one form or another, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why a mother would be forced to hang out in a basement or a subway cuddling her children while bombs fall on her own city, in her own country. Not understanding why why is the Ukraine being invaded? And blaming a couple of people, Putin, Joe Biden, perhaps quite a few people, Justin Trudeau, the Liberals, the Democratic Party in the States, Xi Jinping, because, in my humble opinion, the Ukraine has been used as a pawn by Biden. Putin said he did not want to have a NATO country on his border because he is intent on taking over every country that he can. And it faced with astounding resistance of Joe Biden, I'm sure wondering why Joe Biden doesn't have his son Hunter over there in the Ukraine protecting his source of income. But the wealthy don't need protect their source of income by putting their lives on the line. That's why there's a middle and lower class. So that the wealthy, really wealthy, need not despair, need not be at risk. People like Soros in the States who play with the world as though they owned it. There was a guy, I think about 400 years BC, before Christ. His name was Socrates. Socrates never wrote anything down, I'm told. I'm no theologian nor historian, but as an entrepreneur, I always knew that if I were to hire someone, they'd better have a strong back so I wouldn't have to use mine more than I should. Second, I would always hire someone who was smarter than I was. That wasn't that hard, children. But Socrates, he became famous, so I'm told, for his ability to predict wars. It was premised on this thought: the extreme wealthy, after having purged the country that they lived in or another country they were occupying, of that country's wealth, of that country's money, freedom, independence, pride. It's hard for a person nowadays. It was harder in Socrates' time because people were plundered. The poor people, the middle class people were plundered by the wealthy. So the emperors of the day back in Putin's time, yeah, well, who knows? Actually, that may not be that far wrong. Took great joy in having Socrates around, because Socrates paid attention to what was going on around him. And he could tell the leadership where he happened to be, where and when, roughly when, the next war was going to take place. And he became famous, and people quoted him, and they wrote about him, but he did not. I'm told he did not write about himself. But he was able to warn the leadership of where he lived at the time who was going to be involved in the next war based on the wealthy of that country raping and plundering everything that the middle class and the poor were trying to earn. So he was very popular. He said 5 to 8 years after a country has come under the dictatorship, it's like Justin Trudeau in our Canada. It's like Biden and the Democrats in the States. The middle class, which is almost non-existent now because well, imagine, I went to a gas station the other day. Diesel fuel was $1.96. And I thought, I'm not paying that. I don't know what I'll do. But I drove away from that gas station. I drove 400 yards. And I looked and I thought, I must be mistaken. That gas station, the diesel was $1.75. I pulled in. I filled my truck. And I thought 20 cents a liter, 400 yards. That's what we're going through. Socrates said he could tell when a country was going to rebel, when they would say, enough already. Well, our country is there. The common folk in the U.S. are there. I think the common folk in Russia are there. I think the common folk in China are at that point, the common folk. That's a communist country. Everybody is equal, well, except for the very elite, because they hold the purse strings. You and I, we don't hold purse strings, but our governments do. So let's think about this for a second, and let's make a real prediction here that's has no foundation to it at all. But I, being Irish, would I let common sense and wisdom interfere with what I wanted to do? No. Next great world war, I don't mean the Fourth World War, because we're in the Third World War right now. Women and children dying in the streets of Ukraine, trust me, we're in the Third World War. Manipulated by those who, because of the protest of people around the world, the leaders Biden, Trudeau, Macron, Xi Jinping, they all pretend a certain nominal degree of being angry with Putin for invading the Ukraine, but they're not. Because there is a movement afoot that requires that the population of the world be diminished. Xi Jinping, oh boy, not a doubt about it. But anyways, I've been trying to keep these down to about 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I screwed that up again. Hey, look to God, would you? You're going to live till you die. OLENA, GNES, and her 3 baby children in that subway. Not warm. Her husband out on the street. And they're going to live until they die. They would have lived a lot longer, I pray they do, if the pretense of help, supplies, armament, rockets, anti-tank weapons, if that pretense had been given in a timely manner, less Ukrainian people would be lying dead in the streets. That's a fact. God bless, eh?